Hello and welcome to this guide for roaming in World vs. World. Gonna go through the different borders here, starting up with the desert. The first thing you want to do is keep your participation, your contribution levels at a maximum, tier 6. You do this, the easiest way to do this is sentry points. Sentry points are highly underrated, but they do provide so much help in detecting enemy movements. And I'm not talking about like the occasional enemy roamer, but I'm talking about the occasional enemy Zerg. Now, something you also want to keep your eyes on are shrines when it comes to, for example, the red border here. You've got the fire shrines, air shrines, and earth shrines. Now, all of these give you a movement speed boost of 40%, which is pretty nice when you do get into combat, but they also help you understand and help the server kind of know where there are movements. If you look at a conquered shrine that goes unconquered for like an hour, you understand that there isn't a lot of movement on the enemy's territory. Now, sentries, shrines, those are the easiest. Camps, those can be a little bit harder due to the ranged units which apply blinding. Now, if you just take it a little bit passively, take out the ranged units first, stay at a good distance, you can easily capture any camp with very little effort. Obviously, when these get to tier 2 and tier 3, with guard training, patrol, additional guards, this does become a little bit more of a tedious situation, but can still be done by playing it safe. Another thing you want to keep your eyes out on are any objective that are below tier 2, because tier 2 most likely has something like a watchtower, invulnerable fortifications, but tier 1, as you can see, has no upgrades. So something you always want to do is you want to look for objectives that you can help capture. Now, for most of you, soloing a objective boss is out of the question. However, you can always ask for help in your /T. The /T goes through all of your maps for your server, and it will send the message to everyone who's online in World vs. World. Now, this is really useful. Let's imagine if you want to take this keep over here. You report that whatever side, wall, gate is down, and request help with supplies, and that is a really good way to initiate and contribute to your server's advance in the war. Apart from that, obviously kills help you maintain your participation, so don't be afraid to slay people. And one thing that a lot of people forget is to look behind you. A lot of people play very zoomed in. Make sure to zoom out and use your mouse to look around you. I cannot tell you how many kills I have had by simply running behind people and killing them in the most benign way possible. Now, when it comes to the Alpine borderlands, things are a little bit more complicated due to the fact that both Garrison, Hills, and Bay are much more easier to defend. They're much more sound structures. Unlike the keeps in the desert borderland, these ones are very hard to capture. Which mostly, if we're talking about the home borderland, so I am in Piken, so this will be my home borderland. As you can see, everything is conquered by my server, which leaves south. Now it's always going to be south, like you see these objectives here, all tier 1, everything is paper, completely untiered, right? And that's because you have 2 enemy spawn camps right here. So their movements will always be to move out, get a tower, get here, this camp, leave, do something else in another border. This is very common, so you always see action in the southern regions of all Alpine borders. Now, that does not mean that some people do not venture forward. This is why you have this camp being completely paper. Now, let's talk about claiming. Claiming is incredibly beneficial, and the reason for that is due to the buffs that you inherit as a guild. So let's take a look at that. If I can remember where it is. Probably not here, so let's take a look at a nearby tower. So you should always aim to claim everything and join as many World v World guilds as you possibly can to increase your ability to claim many, multiple, and diverse objects. Now here we walk into the tower range, the border of course, and we get this. Now this is a significant buff. This is not to be underestimated. Any solid player will utilize this completely and absolutely turn the tide in any combat scenario. While it doesn't make or break the combat scenario, it is a huge boon and should not be taken lightly. And this can be applied to everything from camps to keeps and castles as well. And on keeps you have something, let me see if we have it here. Presence of the keep, which doubles the effectiveness, which means this is 200 power, precision, toughness, and vitality, and that is a game changer. So always make sure to do that. Claiming is incredibly important, and it obviously also increases your supply. This is how I have 20 supply, and due to the doubling nature of the presence of the keep, you can have 25 supplies when you take supplies from a keep storage. Now, in terms of how you would roam on, let's say, an enemy border here, right? How would I go about roaming here? So I would spawn here. I would start by going here and probably create some form of distraction on this hill to try and harass the bay to get a reaction. The reaction is to pull enemies mainly from other borders, pull green away from other borders to respond to the threat that I put. This is where having a smaller team can be really helpful to set up 1 or 2 or even maybe 3 catapults or a trebuchet is really beneficial for your realm. Otherwise, I would just go down here to Hero's Lodge, maybe go over to the lake, and as soon as these towers are within control, I would just move north. Disruption of enemy camps like Foghaven here and Faith Sleep is incredibly important due to they not only give supplies to the towers here, but also to this keep. So you take out so much availability for the enemy by taking off something like these well-located camps. Now this one here is tier 3, so this is obviously a relatively tough encounter if one wishes to conquer it, but it does not actually have any defensive upgrades. So it's just simply dealing with the NPCs. For Eternal Battlegrounds, things are a little bit different. The Eternal Battleground scale is significantly smaller than both Alpine and definitely way smaller than the Desert Borderland. Even though they look relatively same size, EB is a lot smaller due to the boundaries of each zone being so stacked with each other. So if you want action, if you want to ambush people and kill people, Eternal Battlegrounds is the way to go. Keep your eyes out for Darkrai Inlet, the Mollicavian Delve here, and the Oglath Uplands. Always a good place to search for targets to kill. Otherwise, taking, again, camps. As you can see here with Gunner's Hold, they are incredibly suffering so much. They are suffering and absolutely bleeding here with very little upgrades on anything. So this is, if I was a roamer, I would go over here, take Galanta, and probably set up a trebuchet here, or a catapult here, and try to take Jerifa slow with maybe 1 or 2 other people. and then just move, kind of just move, try to harass and destroy and kind of do as much structural damage as you can to force the consumption of supplies. And as you can see, I mean, we're not doing so well either here on the blue side, on Pyke's side. We're also doing pretty poorly. But it does look like we're doing a little bit better on home. And if we take a look at the match overview, it does look like we are winning significantly. So not much to worry about there. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Otherwise, that will be it. Happy hunting!